All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Marvel Plus, the podcast devoted to all things MCU. My name is Brett Scott. I am your host, and this, my friends, is the show. And today, I have an awesome guest back that we haven't talked to in quite a while, actually. Um, I'm not, man. It's been since last year sometime that I actually had you on for I think for a round table was the last time you were on. Um, but Gerald is a jack of all trades, man. This guy does uh, so many different types of art, but he is an artist in the truest sense of the word. Um, Graphic art, um, mural art, comic book art, everything, music. Like this guy is just an artist. Gerald, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Oh man, good to be here. The MCU went through a lot of changes since last time we talked. A lot of
Indeed.
things happened. You, you know, it was a time when you weren't hosting the show. You had a couple other
Mhm.
people on,
Yeah.
and yeah, man, so much that happened. I think last time we talked it was about She-Hulk.
Yeah. Which is
That
what,
last
like last
episode.
summer, I think. Last
Yeah,
fall.
yeah, man. And a few movies came out, but
Mhm.
we'll get into that though. We'll get into that, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, let me ask you about that. How have you felt about like the last year, like since the last time we've talked? How have you felt about what the MCU's been putting out? I mean, I think a lot of people are kind of like a little negative on it, but generally, how are you feeling about it?
Well, it. They went through some changes around that time. The last time we talked, when She-Hulk was going on and all that stuff,
Hmm.
and I know they were going through changes. I I did appreciate the Marvels movie. I went to see it.
Hmm.
I wasn't disappointed.
No,
It kind of tied up a few things for me. Um, and what else came out? I can't remember.
I
What
think
else came out?
Guardians 3 came out last year. Guardians
Yep,
Guardians of the
that
Galaxy
that was
3.
dope. That was dope.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah,
think I know I heard people say the word like superhero fatigue. I don't think it's that. I
yeah,
think it's just now that we know what they're capable of, we expect more out of them.
yeah,
And a few changes they went through, it was cool with me. I didn't judge them too harshly, but I'm really digging this Echo series.
yeah,
I wish it was a little bit longer than 5 episodes, but that's cool with me.
yeah.
I'll take it. It's a little more gritty. I like all that type of stuff. And I always loved all the more grittier Marvel comics when I was growing up. Like,
Hmm.
Wolverine. I love X-Men, but Wolverine, he chopping people up, he's showing blood. I loved
Yeah.
all that stuff, the rated R movies.
Daredevil, Punisher. You a Punisher
Yeah,
fan?
yeah, like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, Punisher.
yeah.
Just the gritty stuff. And I like the superhero stuff too, but these guys didn't have, they're anti-heroes and
Hmm.
didn't actually go by the rules. So I'm digging this series though a little bit. And I like the way I like how they're doing this series, and they did the what was it, Miss Marvel. I
Hmm.
did like that. They kind of showing the backstories of these people and different cultures and stuff like that. I dig that part of it. That's always
Yeah,
cool. And I know some people, have their opinions on it, but who don't these days, right? You get on the
yeah.
internet, you're gonna hear it all. But I'm digging it so far. If this is some type of comeback for them, I think they're headed in the right direction though.
I think so too. I think the bringing in some of this darker, more gritty stuff, I think is hopefully going to bring some fans back. I was looking
It's,
forward to this Echo series ever since I saw that trailer because
right.
it looked good, man. You had that first one they gave us was like Kingpin beating the hell out of that dude,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
then I was like, oh man, there's blood everywhere on his suit. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
this. I mean, this feels like the Daredevil series, which I don't know about you, but that was one of my favorite Marvel things they've ever made was that Daredevil series.
Man, I love like the whole I liked all four defenders.
Mhm.
Some more than others. It went like Daredevil, Luke Cage, and what was it, Jessica Jones, and then
Yep.
the Iron Fist series. Uh,
Yep.
Luke Cage was a good series for me. I used to read that comic book a lot, and he was one of the more Street Fighter type of guys. Even though he had
Yep.
his powers, he still took it to the streets, and he was a hero for hire. Um, and yeah, Daredevil was like Daredevil blew me away though. I was like really impressed by that series. Like
Yeah,
the grittiness of it, the storytelling, and how they I think it was what, 4 seasons, and
they ended up doing 3, and then they added the Punisher series as well, which came out of
they
that
added, okay, yeah, it came out of
Daredevil
that series.
series.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I got them mixed up at. But yeah, they did the Defenders. They did that
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yep.
But yeah, out of all 4 of those, Daredevil was like, man, I was really impressed with that one. And you know how they went with like Elektra and you know a couple of the other characters. Like I like that whole
Yeah.
direction. That was
They
one of
did.
my favorites. Yeah,
It was like all Frank Miller,
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's what it
It-
was.
which,
Yeah.
which is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whenever Frank Miller, especially back in the 80s, 90s, like whenever that dude took over a project, like,
He took it over.
yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. Like
Yeah.
he revamped Daredevil, revamped Batman, did his own Sin City. I mean,
Yeah.
the dude
And
is
they're
the
all different
king.
styles, all different
Yeah,
styles. Like nothing is like the other one. Like you don't even know it's Frank Miller until he put his name on it. And you
yeah,
know that was one of his things. Yeah, and those yeah he was one of my guys growing up too.
yeah. And always like he brings the grit to whatever he does. Like it always feels really street level, really like he dives into like the crime world. He
Mm-hmm.
almost always dives into the crime world in all of his books. Like I love him, dude. I love him. Like
Oh
it
yeah, and it
I have most of the stuff like that he's done in trade.
yeah,
Like I love it.
and another thing too, his anything he does translates on screen real well. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
no matter what different type of comic book he does,
Hmm.
when they translate it onto the screen, it has like an edge to it, and that's what I like. You know, and man, he's just a winner, man.
Yeah.
He's one of my people, one of my top guys. You know, one day
It's
I'm gonna put out a list of my top guys, but he definitely gonna be on there.
that's he's he's one of the guys like I think the it's so cool that it translates to screen so well because you know nowadays comic book writers and artists they are creating hoping that they can get something on the screen, right? And so their
Yeah,
comics a lot of time look like that, but he was like one of the first to do it to make it feel like a movie when you're
right.
reading a
Yeah,
comic book, you know?
yep. And you remember back in the day, it was a time. I know I'm gonna show my age here. You know, everything. Every comic book movie was they tried to do something with Batman or
Hmm.
have some type of Batman element in it, or you know, like
Yeah.
it was a time when that was going on. I think people attitudes are changing now. You know, I'm one of the guys who grew up reading those comic books, and that's why I got into the Marvel universe. But now
Mm.
you have people like, kind of like my daughter generation and on down. They know these movies.
Yeah.
You know, some still read comic books, but they might not necessarily go to the comic book and then go to the show. They want to see the show.
Yeah.
There's a Marvel universe that Marvel Studios created
Yep.
that's separate from the guys who, you know, who's writing these amazing stories
Yeah.
and 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 I think it's just like that's what it is these days. I think it's just we living in a different time.
Hmm.
There is a Marvel universe. There's a cinematic universe. They have tons of movies now.
Yep.
Um, if you want to go back and watch some of them, you can. You can't watch that whole continuity, but then you have like episodes of Moon Knight and like this echo what we're talking about,
Yeah.
and I just think it's a whole different thing. I think they need to. I think their TV shows can be better. I think they can compete. I mean, they already proven it with like we talk about Daredevil. Um,
Hmm.
Man, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I say. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I think this what it all ended when they started Disney Plus, right? And they put all the shows back. You know, they want all the
Hmm.
shows on their app, but yeah, that was one of the reasons I went to Netflix. It had
Yeah.
to be a top. I don't know where his numbers were at, but I know it was a top show.
Yeah.
I know it was a top show. Yeah.
And I still feel like it's one of the greatest, no matter how much stuff they've put out. Even if you compare it to the movies, like superhero movies that have
Mm-hmm.
come out, like I still think one of the top projects I've ever seen is that Daredevil series. And
It was though.
I feel like that's probably why I like this Echo series so much because it felt a lot like that. Not only did it bring in some of the same characters like Kingpin, who's great, D'Onofrio's just the greatest Kingpin,
Oh, yeah.
um, but yeah, and bringing in Charlie Cox for an episode that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt kind of like that same world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why
And
I
I,
like
I
this series so
almost
much.
forgot about that scene until you brought it up.
What,
I'm like,
Daredevil?
I forgot. I'm like, Daredevil was in this. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
without spoiling it, but
It happened so early, and I think it was smart. Like, get
mm-hmm.
it in there. Don't have the fans keep waiting for a Daredevil to show up. Don't make it about waiting for Daredevil to show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get him in there, show a cool fight scene with him, and move on. You know, comic books. My guest for the last episode, Kurt, he said, that's how comic books did it a lot. Whenever they had like another hero featured in the book, he'd be in there for just a minute. He'd show up, he'd do something, and then he'd be gone. But
You
that's
go
how they
back
bring
to
you in, is put him on the cover, like featuring Daredevil. You know what I
right,
mean?
and then suck you into the story.
Yeah.
And it was a cool way to show that these characters are from his world.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's just one little fight scene. So I'm guessing that when they do the Born Again series, maybe
Mm-hmm.
they'll show his perspective of him watching those guys or something.
Yeah.
Because it was a bunch of different perspectives. Her father, then her,
Mm-hmm.
the guy she was beating up, and all this stuff. It was, and I thought it was clever for them to do that. And he came down. I like the lighting up. Just his silhouette, everything. You
Mm-hmm.
knew who he was. I like
Yeah.
the whole. I like the choreographed fight scene between those two. The way he was moving and everything. I
Yeah.
thought that was smooth, and it. Yeah, and I really can't wait for that show to come back out for real.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for that, and maybe we'll get some more Echo in that series. With 18 episodes, I feel like there's plenty of room to fit in some Echo.
Yeah,
Um, bring in
I'm
plenty
sure
of
she'll
characters.
have like maybe 3 or 4 dedicated to her side of the
Yeah,
story or something. Yeah, they'll do
yeah.
something with it. I trust them on that.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about in this, that they kind of changed up in this series, is this idea that Echo kind of has this ancestral power, kind of, or like ancestral help
Yeah,
coming through the ages. I wasn't a huge fan. Like I said, I haven't watched the final episode yet, so I don't know how it ends. But up to episode 4, they hadn't leaned on it too much, like just a little bit here and there. It helped her out at times. Um, I wasn't a huge fan of them doing that, but I do like the idea of her being like a long line of badass warrior women. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, I don't know if I needed the power thing, because she's an awesome melee character. She's awesome at
right.
just kicking ass. She doesn't need a power. But what did you think about that? Like this power that they added?
Um, it kind of it threw me off at first because when the show first came on, that very first scene, I was
Hmm.
like, I kind of hit back on the button. I'm like, did I hit the right series? Did I click on another Disney Plus, series?
Right.
And then I went back to it, and I'm like, what is this story? Then a few minutes later, it happened to show that this was the origin of the Choctaw people. But in the
Hmm.
comic book, I think she was actually biracial. She was Latin American and Native American, so
Hmm.
she had 2 sides to her, and that's kind of where her power came from. It was more of a strength.
Hmm.
It wasn't nothing like it wasn't her hands glowing or anything like that. I think that's
Right.
something they added,
Just a visual thing.
a visual thing, and then when they researched this show, they spoke a lot with the Choctaw people. They actually worked
Hmm.
with them, and I
Yeah.
think maybe it was something they all kind of came up with to get a show,
Okay.
kind of get a show some pop or something, or to you
Yeah.
know put some Disney into it.
Hmm.
what I
Yeah.
that's what I call it. But
Yeah.
yeah, but like you said, I do agree. I think she just her strength. I mean, she's a killer already. Like she
Yeah.
is a female Punisher,
Dude.
and
Yeah.
I think that's where her strength is. And she was trained. She's trained by the Kingpin, but she's trying to do good.
Hmm.
Like a female Daredevil. She's like the other side of him.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I'm getting out of it. And her prosthetic leg and everything. She uses everything as a strength instead of a
Yeah.
weakness. And that's
Yeah.
what I love. That's what I think her power is, and that's what I think this show. I think it's focused on that, but they wrap the story around it with her backstory and everything. But I
Hmm.
think that's why I used to love her when I read her in a few comic books that I had, because she came out later on. But she
Hmm.
was actually in the comic books. Her and Daredevil actually get together.
Yeah.
They're actually a couple. So I really want to see how that plays out
Yeah.
in this next series. So
Yeah,
but
I feel like they could.
um,
I feel like they could go somewhere with that, especially with
yeah.
all the stuff they had with Elektra in the
Mhm.
the Netflix series. That they could definitely like bring in a new kind of romantic interest, and I don't know. I think it would work really well.
Yeah, and I think her and Elektra would go head up. You know,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
would be a good fight scene too. Like if Elektra is still alive, not to give away stuff that happened in the Daredevil series. I hope everybody's seen it by now, but
yeah,
she kind of just disappeared. But she's that type of character. You don't know when she's coming, you don't know when she's going. So
yeah,
I hope both these characters come back though.
yeah.
Everybody, because they need to
Yeah.
go in that direction, and it'll be tough.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, keep this Daredevil world like together. Um, keep playing with these same characters. Man. So this episode that we're talking about today, it was actually one of the kind of slower episodes. Not as much action in it. A lot of character stuff though. We got the scenes from Miles' childhood again, and just showing how the Kingpin like manipulated her and stuff through the years, and they actually sit down face to face after all this. I mean, she has shot him in the face, tried to kill him. Oh, hey, kitty cat.
My cat trying to get the picture. So get over there. Get over there. That way. Yep. Sorry about that, bro.
That's all right. It'll be a round table with the cat. I'll get my puppy in here.
There we go.
But
all right.
yeah, they sit down at the table and have dinner together. Kind of have dinner together. But they kind of have it out a little bit here, and he basically offers her his empire. Like, I'll eventually hand this over to you, but you got to come back with me. You got to come back to New York and be part of the organization again. And she kind of acts like she might be interested, and even the audience thinks like, wait a minute, it looked like she's kind of thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She was like, because she was talking about that.
Yeah.
Before she mentioned it, I thought it was just like a throwaway line, like, hey, I want his empire, not just any empire. I want to take over what he's doing to help my people, and that's what I got out of it. But then again, I'm like, I know in the comic book he was always trying to be a different person, wearing the white.
Yeah.
He wanted to he looks at him as himself as a hero.
Yeah.
Kind of like a street level Thanos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in that sense, and it's different from the not the same guy in the Spider-Man comic books. I'm talking about the Daredevil, even though they're all connected. I'm talking about Daredevil. He was always trying to be a guy like I'm running for mayor. I want to do, I'm a alderman or something like that. And I think that he's trying to go that direction and let her take over his criminal empire. That way he can kind of have control, or any level of control he think he has over both, the political world and the underworld.
Yeah, and he can kind of separate himself politically from the crime that's going on. Like it's that's not him doing
do all the time. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I agree, man. I think that's probably his aim is like he's not stepping down or anything. He just wants to get her back.
That was some scary. When he just showed up, I thought it was a vision that she was having. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they kept talking about visions and making peace with your past and stuff like that. And I'm like, is he really standing there? But then when this episode comes on, he's there. I just want to sit down and hang out, have dinner. And I'm like, damn, dude, didn't she just shoot you in the eye? Like,
But that's what's great about Kingpin though. Like I mean, he can go off the handle and just like murder people, but at the same time, he can also just be really scary. Like, just like you don't know, like, oh man, he's being way too nice to me right now. Like,
that's what's so scary. That's what's so scary about him, because I'm like, he raises when he does raise his voice, what's up. But he usually talk in a calm manner, or he's always composed. But he can blow up like anytime,
any moment. Yeah.
He was always one of my favorite villains, or if you want to call him a villain. But he's one of my guys though.
Well, also in this episode, we get kind of the story from her grandmother about like when she describes these visions she's been having and these feelings she's been having, and her grandmother tells her like the story, like kind of like this is a thing that I felt when I gave birth to your mother, and it's something that must be passed through the generations because it's a vision we've all had, and you know, maybe it would have went to the mother, but the mother passed away. Like now it's
Yeah.
her. I feel like that was good stuff. Like I like all this stuff with her family and stuff. Like I like her estranged grandfather that does the like technical stuff. He builds all
Yeah.
these
No,
things.
that's the same guy from Dance with Wolves, right? Dance.
Is it?
I think so. The
That's
Tatanka.
well, that's cool.
Tatanka. Yeah. I think
That's
that's the
cool.
same actor. Yeah. Well, I got to look it up, but I should have checked that before I got on the episode. But I was wondering about that because
Mm.
I meant to ask one of my relatives who love that movie Dancing with Wolves, but she hasn't
Mhm.
seen the series yet. So yeah. I'm sure that's the same guy.
It probably is.
Mm-hmm.
So the grandmother explains all this to her, and what else we get in the last episode? Henry said her uncle Henry said he wanted to help her, and now he's like thinking about going, or she's thinking about going back, and he's like, "What is what?" Like, so these last two episodes I know are like short episodes, like
Yeah.
they happen, but I feel like this one slowed down a lot with them not having a lot of action, and it was just him and her sitting across the table most of the time. But he offers her to come back. And I kept thinking she was gonna go talk to Bonnie because it kept showing Bonnie at home, like she was gonna go visit Bonnie, and
Yeah.
she didn't end up going to visit Bonnie, and it looked like she's leaving town.
I
That's what it
think
looked.
yeah, something's going on with her and Bonnie.
Yeah.
Now I think Bonnie is gonna end up being, we're gonna see more of her.
Mhm,
I think she's gonna be her partner in crime.
mhm.
And they I was watching a What If episode and I was wondering if that was Bonnie. It was a it's a What If episode in season 2 about a Native American girl.
The Kahori? Yeah.
And I was wondering if was that Bonnie or is that like another side of the story or what, but it was just my, it's just my
Yeah.
imagination.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think something else is going on with them too. And there's a reason why she keeps her distance. Besides, I don't, that's the age old excuse, right? I don't want to get my family hurt. I'm just stay away from you. But I think they're staying
Yeah.
away from each other for another reason that we don't know about yet. And
Interesting.
yeah, and the whole thing with the grandmother, I think this was the episode that they chose to like just tie up the loose ends. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
this is
Explain
what,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, I'm having those visions too. What are you
Mhm.
having visions of? And then when
Yeah.
she explained it to her, like, okay, yeah, me too. That's
Yeah.
something going on with us. And then the kingpin, I want you to come back into my world. The
Mhm.
grandmother was like, but you're a part of this world,
Yeah.
and it's like another Pocahontas story, really, but
Yeah.
cooler, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? um, this man wants to take her to New York City and become this person where he trained her to be,
Mhm.
but this is who she is, and that duality is what makes her, Echo. And
Yeah.
I think that's just something she got to come to terms with, and this episode is what pretty much letting us know that this is her duality. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Whether she go forward from here or not, we got a better understanding of where she's coming from.
Mm.
And, right before the finale, and I'm sure we're gonna get all the action in the finale. So
I'm sure. I'm sure.
yeah, you know how they do.
I'm hoping so. I know it's going to be it's the shortest episode is that finale, which is surprising. But
Yeah,
the run times in the series it just gets shorter with each episode. It's like 50 something minutes, then 40 something minutes, then 30 minutes, 20. The last one's like 27 minutes or something long.
yeah,
And that only gives like 20 minutes of storytelling.
yeah.
So I imagine there's going to be some action in that to tie everything up. But I think we kind of needed this like slow down episode because every episode has been kind of action packed up until now.
Oh yeah,
But it looked weird because it looked like she was leaving town at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the same time, she wasn't going back to New York because she didn't fly back with Kingpin. Or if she is, she's not going with Kingpin. He's on his jet waiting for her. She doesn't show up, and he gets, angry Kingpin, starts slamming stuff around. So he's about to bring the war to this Tomahawk, Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's about to be on, and that's the thing too. Like I thought she was going. Yeah, I thought she was going back to New York too with him. I
Hmm.
thought she was gonna make that choice, but then again, I didn't know where she was going. I think,
Yeah,
and that's why I believe we're gonna see more of these characters.
for
When the
sure.
Daredevil series happens, the Born Again series happens, maybe we'll find out where she was going. Maybe she was going somewhere totally different. Maybe she'll be a young Avenger.
Yeah, yeah.
Either her or Bonnie.
Who knows?
They can go in any direction. You know what I'm saying? And I think it adds a little mystery to it. And
Hmm.
the reason why the episodes keep getting shorter because that's actually how Echo works, right? You scream once, it kind of fades into the wind.
Uh-huh.
And that's just my metaphor. But
Yeah,
since they're talking about being, the
I
Choctaw
like it.
people and all this stuff, it's kind of how that works. And I really couldn't tell about the length of the episodes because
Hmm.
they did have a lot of information in them. They had just enough action, just
Yeah,
enough information. You know what I'm saying? People attention spans are shorter these days, so it's like,
yeah, yeah.
um, and I wish it was a little bit longer. I didn't know why they did I didn't know why they did the 4 or 5 episode thing,
Hmm.
um, but I heard this was the series that got caught up in the whole Disney restructuring,
I could
and
see that.
they were done with it and everything. They were like, hey, let's put it out there, because the series is a good series,
Yeah.
and I heard a lot of good things about it. I liked it myself.
Hmm.
Like I said, they brought back the grittiness. It
Yeah.
was one scene where they showed a guy getting shot up, and I'm like, damn, that was pretty like, whoa,
Yeah.
like man, am I watching Disney Plus over here? But
Yeah.
it
Well,
was kind of gritty. It was
it's
wild, man.
it I mean, I welcome that because we haven't had anything like that in a long time. Like I said,
Right.
since probably the Netflix stuff, and the 20th Century Fox stuff, we haven't had anything like more adult, which is that's the stuff I like. It's the stuff that's like it's older kids could watch it, but it's not just for kids. You know what
Right.
I mean? It's for like older kids slash young adults, like it, and comic book fans. Like because comic books were like that too. There were some that were not as violent, not as dark, like we were talking
Yeah.
about before. Like an Avengers comic isn't gonna be as dark as a Punisher comic. You know what I mean? Like
Right. Yeah.
it's two different kind of worlds, and I'm okay with that if Disney and Marvel Studios want to do it that way, like have some stuff that's more family friendly, like everyone can watch it, and stuff that's a little darker as well, just like the comic books, man. Like there's some that are for older kids to read, and there's some for little kids
Little
to
kid
read.
three.
Like,
Yeah. And that's
um,
that's that's Marvel, right? The
yeah,
variety.
yeah,
I've had all kind of Marvel comic books. Like I said, my preference was the darker stuff,
mhm,
what they call darker, but the more grittier, the
yeah,
violence, the street level.
hmm,
Um, that was my preference, and I had some of the superhero stuff too. And then eventually they started making comic books where those were mixed together. You know what I'm saying? And then
yeah,
then they start having graphic novels, and it's
hmm,
an evolution, and like I said, the comic books are doing one thing, and then I think the movies and TV shows and all that stuff are doing another thing these
hmm,
days. There's now we do have a Marvel universe, like I said. So in
yeah,
that universe, there's different planets, there are different sections. That some people like this stuff, some people like that stuff. But I think the old model is changing from the way we view these action movies,
yeah,
these superhero, these television shows, and everything. People's attitudes are changing because we know more about them. We know different characters. We know what Marvel is capable of. That
yeah,
um, and it's and put it to be honest, man. Like, it's hard to top Endgame. Like, that was a good movie.
yeah,
The
yeah,
very last one. it's so hard to top that, and
Yeah.
they're gonna have to find a way to try, or just like have those executives have to read those comic books themselves. That's where these stories are coming from. I know
Yeah.
there's a Marvel Studios and there's a Marvel Comics now, and
Hmm.
one's making all of this money, and the other one
Yeah.
is making money from the stories. So, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's just where we at right now, man. But like I said, I like this episode. I know this was the one with not much action in it, but everything. But I do like the way they told this story, and I like the way they tied it up. For real.
Oh, what did you think about so Kingpin created this device that he could communicate with her, and it would do sign language
Yeah.
while he was talking, and then it would translate her sign language to him
Um,
into words. So he didn't need that translator there. Um,
didn't Apple invent something like that, or or
Probably.
it sounds like an Apple product to me, man. I don't know.
It does. It does. But you know what I loved is so me and one of my other guests a couple days ago, we're talking about how Kingpin didn't even have the decency to learn sign language. Like he raised this girl
Yeah.
and he wouldn't even take the time to learn sign language. Like, oh, he loves her so much, but he won't take the time to learn sign language. He's got to have this translator there all the time. Um, I did think it was real brutal when they showed that scene in the past where they killed the
Oh,
translator.
yeah,
I
man.
was like, whoa. But I like that they addressed in this.
They walked in the other room and she couldn't hear, so
Yeah,
we but she couldn't. That was cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
They had the plastic wrap set up like Dexter over there. It's just like boom. Um,
Yeah, that was
yeah, I
wild.
was like, ooh, yeah, this is dark. Um, but I
And I
do
can
like that they
comment too, because like what he say, you're dismissed, and I'm like, oh my god, it's over for her.
yeah.
Because she
Yeah.
because she can everything they talked about, she translated, so she's a witness.
Yep. Yep.
And when he said she's dismissed, I'm like, oh yeah, she's dismissed.
Yep.
Yeah,
She's done.
yeah,
Uh,
that was
I do like though that they addressed it in this episode that she even said like you couldn't even learn sign language, like you do all this, you got this technology and stuff.
but you
He's
couldn't
like,
learn sign language. Yeah.
couldn't learn sign language for me, like
I'm,
you care
I'm
so
wondering.
much.
I'm wondering where he got that device from, because I know we're talking about. I just said
The
Apple.
Apple Store.
That sounds like a Stark Industries,
Yeah.
maybe Stark Industries or a PIM product that
Yeah.
maybe he got from somebody. But that'll be cool if we find out where he got that from too, because
Yeah.
I'm sure these days they have devices. There's a device out like that.
I bet there is.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially because what it was is it looked like that not virtual reality, but augmented reality. You
augmented.
know,
Yeah.
that's what it looked like.
Mhm.
I mean, it was some sort of augmented reality with the through the contact lens, which I thought was cool. Like that was kind of scary. He was coming up to her, they were holding her, and he just like puts that
That's
in her eye.
that part of the scene. Like that was like in the beginning of this episode, but
Yeah,
that part of the scene, I'm like, I'm sure she could have fought them guys off or knocked all three of them guys out or killed all three
mm,
of them guys. But they had to show that because if we see every scene and everybody got to talk to her in sign language, that's cool
mm,
in there. But when it translates on film, that was a
yeah,
nice device to have too,
hmm,
to kind of show, what she's seeing again and what he's seeing, because they played with sound a lot in this episode,
yeah,
what in this whole series, but
hmm,
in this episode in particular, and that's one of the things I like too. They didn't just do the visuals; sound is a part of this art form too, and they really showed that in this one.
yeah, yeah. And I think they've done that really well throughout. Like having scenes be all silent
Yeah,
whenever she like we're kind of in her head while stuff's happening. I like that. And
you
then
hear,
the rest of the time,
is that a heartbeat or is that like
yeah,
it's some type of sound effect? But it's dope though, because that's what she's feeling, that's what she's hearing, and
right.
yeah, that's dope.
And I also like that like any scene that we're not in her head is seems like really loud. Like it's almost like they turned up the volume for the
Mm.
audience, and then every once in a while you get a glimpse from
Yeah,
inside her, like
I
through
thought that
her
was
eyes,
just my
and it's
TV.
silent.
Yeah, you're right. I thought that was my TV messing up, but I'm like, yeah, this by the time you start hearing again, I'm like, oh, like,
Yeah,
and
it's
the
extra
music,
loud.
music choices were good too that they played in here.
Mhm. I think this will be fun too when they bring her and Daredevil together, being that he's blind and she can't hear. It's like you remember that old movie Hear No Evil, See No Evil? It was like Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. You remember that
Yeah,
movie?
that I remember that one. One of them was blind and the other one was deaf.
Yeah,
And,
they were like best friends. Yeah.
and yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good.
Ridiculous. Yeah. But I feel like they could do a lot with that. I think that's one of the reasons they probably originally created the character was to like have something that was um like it was like a weird like a match for Daredevil where like he can't see, he lives with that world and she can't hear and she deals with that and just how they would have to communicate with each other, you know what I mean, would be wildly like that's probably going to be um that device that Kingpin has. I bet you that's going to come into play between Daredevil and Echo.
Yeah, and that's another good way to to bring it back in too.
Hmm.
And they have some things in common. Their fathers were murdered.
Hmm.
He was trained by Styx, and she was trained by Kingpin,
Hmm.
and they're both trying to do good in the world that that's they're surrounded by bad, in Hell's Kitchen or whatever.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I'm just interested to see what happened next. This was a good. If they only did these 5 episodes to lead up until this series,
Uh-huh.
they're cool with that. Like you said, they brought back a little bit of the grittiness. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't mind it being an intro. Yep, yep.
Yeah. How do you feel about I know a lot of people haven't been too up on MCU in the past year or so. Like it's and me personally, I won't say it's like bad, but it's definitely like you said, it's hard to compete with the old stuff, right? Like the stuff that it not even just Endgame, but like that whole phase, like phase 3, phase
Mhm.
2 with Winter Soldier, like it's really hard to make stuff that gets up there with those projects.
And
So
just and those were and just remember some of them characters weren't even the top comic books. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So,
yeah, most of them, right? Like most of them.
and of course, and then like the Hulk and all that, those were top. But it's like it's hard to top that, and then like you want to do something different, you know,
Hmm.
because you have a different audience now. You have an audience that, like I said, they just see these movies,
Hmm.
and then you have an audience that, hey, stick to the source material. You always have those people too.
Yeah.
Stick to what's in the comic books, and when the X-Men coming back, and they
Hmm.
keep them in a few episodes, and they, stuff like that. And I think everybody just want to see what the new plan is.
Yeah.
Then like when I hit you up about Jonathan Majors, and that was
Hmm.
I'm still like healing from that. I
Yeah,
still
that's
I didn't see his interview yet, but I'm still like that kind of threw me off a little bit because
yeah.
I I read a lot of the Kang Dynasty comic books, you know what I'm saying? So I was looking forward to that. So now I don't know what they're gonna do. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, man. Yeah, I'm just curious what direction they're going now. I know when they did the end game and Thanos and all that stuff, that was a comic book I read, and I like the way they ended it. But
Mhm.
I just want to know what's going on now. I know they're doing Secret Wars, but what's next for them?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that over the next year, the only Marvel project, well, the only Marvel film that we get is Deadpool 3, which I'm super excited for Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool that we're getting this darker, gritty, more mature show, and then we're gonna get a rated R film this year. So it's like the year of the mature Marvel content. I hope that it kind of brings some fans back because I know a lot of people have soured on the MCU, just kind of
Yeah.
and I think it's what you said. It's a little bit of like lack of direction. They don't know where it's going. It's not as it feels like the people creating it didn't have a cohesive idea. Like they don't know what's going to happen next, just like us, and it makes people not care as much. But I do feel like that maybe they're getting back on track now with what I've heard. Um, what everybody's heard in the press and stuff is like it feels like they're taking a step back and really trying to put out some quality stuff. And so far, man, Echo is proving them right. I think this is a step in the right direction.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think so too. And I know some people were online. They were comparing it to the Miss Marvel show, and you know how it was like more family grounded and all that stuff. And
Yeah,
that's just how people are, man. That's the real world. It's just
yeah,
that's how it is. Like my grandmother is the same way. We all looked up to
yeah.
her, got stories from her, and it's just
Hmm.
that's how it is. But but yeah, like I said, I read a little bit of Echo comic books. I didn't read many of them because like I said, it came out later. It was part of the Daredevil that when they were trying to get back into make telling these stories again and introducing new characters.
Yeah.
She was the ones that really stood out, and it brought some. It was around the time too when they were trying to bring diversity back and
Hmm.
just have different people and have make sure that everybody can read a comic book and find their self in the comic
Yeah.
book. Those
See
around that.
themselves in yeah. Like
Yeah.
I mean that's what we all want to do, right? Like that's we want to kind of put ourselves in these stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think that's why I like the grounded characters more, the ones that are more human, or maybe have powers, but not like shooting stuff from their hands or whatever. Like that's why I love Batman so much. It's like he's just a guy, with tech.
Right. And that's a power. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that. The fact that he has billions of dollars and he can hide everything he's doing, that's
Yeah.
be a strength. Some people like, well, blah, blah, blah. But but and that's the thing too. Going back to her hands glowing,
Hmm.
um, I think it would have been I think it would have been a little more mysterious if they would have you know just have like a tattoo on her hands or something
Hmm.
that she strength from. And that way we don't know if it's a power or not. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like Daredevil. They say like his senses are heightened, but he can do
Right.
stuff that I mean, we've seen him do stuff that normal people can't do. So
Yeah.
it's like, is it a power or is it just something he's trained to
Right.
overcome? You know what I'm saying? Like we don't know, and I kind of like that mystery. That would have been a good thing to have some
Yeah,
mystery.
because I feel like some comics
In.
would portray that like it's almost like he has a power, like the echolocation and stuff.
Yeah,
But then there's also versions of it, kind of like the Netflix series, or other comic books that just like, oh well, he's just through the years he's gotten so good at
mm,
hearing and sensing the things around him that it's like he can see. But
yeah,
sometimes they make it seem like he basically really can see through this like echolocation. It's
yeah.
like seeing like it's a power, or like the stuff that blinded him maybe gave him extra
Yeah.
senses.
That's
You know what I mean?
that's what I always got from the comic books where it was him and Spider-Man. I'm like, maybe he got senses from this chemical, like the
Yeah.
flight.
Right.
Like that story where the lightning hit him and then he flew into the chemicals and all that together gave
Hmm.
him power. Yeah, and I would like to see something like that, but her hands glowing and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, that's just a Disney effect,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
get some flavor to it. Let you know that it's Marvel and they got a little bit of magic in it, So I
Yeah.
wasn't too mad at it.
Like I said, I think it's all right. As long as it's the way I looked at it was this is her ancestors kind of helping her out. It's
Yeah,
not like she has this power like say like a Scarlet Witch or
mm,
something like that. Like it's literally just the ancestors kind of intervening, and I can get on board with that, like a little bit of spirituality rather than
yeah,
magic. You know what I mean?
yep. And I'm not sure why they changed the origin story from the comic books to her being Choctaw or not. I don't know. I didn't know nothing about that.
Mhm.
Maybe I know they'll show a behind the scenes of this series,
Yeah,
and
they always do that. Yeah,
yeah, and they'll answer more questions then, but we'll find out then. But I mean, it was cool with me, but it kind of threw me off a little bit because I was expecting her to the series would have went a whole nother way if we would have found out she was
hmm
all that stuff. And but yeah, I like the direction they're going, and I want to see more of her and this whole thing with her and Bonnie. Like, what's
yeah,
up with going on? Yeah, I don't know, man.
yeah. I want to see how it plays out. I assume eventually she'll end up back in New York,
Right.
just so we can have interactions with Daredevil. I mean, I think she's got. I don't think she's gonna like live in Tomahawk from now on. You know what I mean? She's gonna return, but I don't think it's gonna be as she originally intended, which was like uh going in to take over as a new crime lord, right? The Queen pin, and she even says it in this episode. He's handing me the Queen pin.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's funny because like I thought that was just something I made up in my head, like, oh, she's gonna be the queen pin, but like no, they that's actually what they might call it. Um, but
that's my prediction though. I think that he'll go the more political route.
uh-huh.
She'll go more underground route.
Hmm.
I think they're still gonna have a beef between the two, but
Hmm.
I think they're gonna develop an understanding if they're going that direction. But I
Right,
still what Born Again. I don't know what the plot is gonna be about. They might
right,
change it up 15 episodes, so we never know.
yeah.
The
Anything
first
could happen.
series, it was they had different plots and everything, but it all tied back up to Kingpin.
Hmm.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see how they tie in those original Daredevil stories that we saw on Netflix. Because if they're making that canon, it's like you know how did Kingpin like? Because at the end of Born Again, like he takes Kingpin down. So like
Yeah.
how did Kingpin get back into prominence again and become powerful again? Um, I'm guessing maybe it happened during the blip, like during the blip he somehow got his power back because there's half the people used it as an opportunity to uh kind of come in and say, hey, I can help you guys, I can make sure you've got food, clothing, housing, blah blah blah. And then that's the way that he kind of came back into power over those 5 years.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he took over some type of uh, Stark Industry Lab or some type of PIM protocol place
Hmm.
or like maybe they operating in Hell's Kitchen and then that's where Daredevil comes.
Yeah,
I was like that's my wishful thinking, but it
yeah,
wasn't far fetched. Because he does things like that. He set up different places in the city, and Daredevil goes in and interrupts his business, and that's why they always at it. That
yeah,
was the theme of it. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes, man. I hope it goes in that direction, but if it goes another direction, I'm cool with that too. Like I just
yeah,
want that back for real.
yeah. Just tell good stories, right?
Mm,
Just tell
That's
us good stories, man.
that's it. That's
Um, well, Gerald, man, I appreciate you doing this, man.
oh yeah.
Coming on again to talk comic books and comic book related stuff. Um, I'd like you to let everybody know where they can find your artwork, and all the stuff that you do. Uh, you know, I know that a lot of people might not know this, but you created a, a logo for Marvel Plus podcast. You even I commissioned you to do a logo for my landscaping company. You
Oh
do
yeah.
great work, so I'd love to get other people that might be interested in like your graphic art, or comic book art or what have you, a place to find you.
All right. So it's 2024. I'm overhauling all of my pages. I might consolidate everything into one page. But for right now, what I'm doing is having everybody go to my Instagram, and it's GK77art.
Yep.
All caps. Uh, that's that's probably where I'll be just putting up new things. The first thing I put up or whatever, like when I do my artwork or whatever, my murals, whether I'm doing logos, murals, comic books, or anything like that. I'll probably just put it on that. That'll be my art page from now on, and
Cool.
I'm putting my business page under that name too. So we're gonna go with that for now. In the meantime, what I'm doing right now is just changing out all my pictures and everything. So I'm under construction, but that's where you can find me. You can find me on Facebook, Gerald G. Ride King. I'm on TikTok, but I can't remember my name. But we'll get back to that. But I am on TikTok right now.
All
You can
right.
you can see some of my other work too, my tattoos and everything. I'm into a little bit of everything, y'all. So
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like you're just an artist, man. You do all
yeah,
kind and music too. Like you do all kinds of things. Like
yeah,
anything artistic, anything artistic. Gerald King is involved in.
got to do it, man. I used to get bored when I was growing up, and I was just trying to do different things, man. And now that I'm older, I got good at a few of those things, but
Yeah,
try to be a jack of all trades. Keep that money coming in somehow. So
yeah. I love it, man. Well, like I said, again, appreciate you. Hopefully, I'll talk to you again soon. I
oh
love
yeah,
talking to stuff with you because I know you are like a diehard like real comic book fan. Like you
yeah.
love the source
That
material.
thing really hurt me, man. I know I sent you a message about it. We haven't talked in a while, but that kind of when that whole thing happened, I'm like, oh man, the first person I hit up was Brett Scott. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, this is hurting my feelings. This I might be out of commission for but I might be out of commission for a minute. But I'm back now. I kind of got over it. I might watch the interview and everything, see where they're going. I was looking forward to that whole Kang dynasty story.
I know,
but yeah, man. But hey, it's other things to do. We got other.
there's plenty more stories to tell.
Yeah. We'll try to move on from it. But yeah, we'll talk again one day, man. Real soon.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Take it easy, bro.
All right, man. See you later.